building your personal brand and an impeccable personality or character. Right? So what's your personal brand? Your personal brand is your identity, is your address. We're living in a world today where there are lots of assumptions. So if you don't want people to assume who you are, you must be able to tell people who you are. Right? So we all know Mr. Jenkins, call him J Clean, you know. When you think of J Clean, you think of what? You think of cleaning. It's very, very simple. Right? When you think of Apple, you think of sophisticated device that gives you class. Right? So brands like this, individually or at a corporate level, they've been able to build a brand. So when something is identified with them or when something is coming from them, you know what to expect from these particular people. You know, so he mentioned about John C. Maxwell. So if you're thinking leadership, you just think John C. Maxwell. Why? Because he has been able to build a brand. So what we want to learn now is what's the processes that is involved in you building a brand that will bring value to you as an individual or that will bring value to your organization. So we said first of all that your brand is your what? Your identity. Very, very important because people make assumptions. You know what comes to my mind is there was a time Jesus was walking with his disciples and then he asked the closest guys to him, he said, who do men say that I am? They were assuming. One said you are Elijah, the other one said you are Moses or whoever. Right? So Jesus was able to tell them who he was and then they took him for that. Do you understand? So your personal branding is you making a statement about who you are. There was a time even my best friend was calling me a motivational speaker. But I said, I'm not a motivational speaker. So I had to make it straight that, okay, what I want to do or my purpose is to help people maximize their potential. So I teach and I train, and that's why I write books, that's why I teach, that's why I organize seminars, that's why I do the things I do. Do you understand? So without making a statement about who you are left with a description of other people's assumption about you. Without making a statement about who you are left with the description of other people's assumption about you. And that might be a disservice to you. Because if you don't know who you are, you buy into the narrative of other people and you start acting in their narrative. So how do you build your brand? First and foremost, define who you are. Define who you are. And in defining who you are, there are some things you must understand. Your definition of who you are is based on who you think that you are. And who you think you are is based on the knowledge of yourself that you have. So there was a time I was in the public school, Oboipoko school, from JS1 to SS2. And while I was there, I made up my mind I was going to be a bad student. It was a decision. Yes, because the mindset I had was if you're going to a public school, you are not supposed to be intelligent. You're supposed to wear pants to school, you're supposed to. So that was the narrative, that was the idea I had. But then I listened to words like you have an opportunity to be, like we've been hearing since morning and I've been blessed, you know. And I made a decision from the words I was hearing from the speakers that came to the new school I was changed to. That I was going to try doing things differently. So I started reading books, started buying books, you know. And my orientation about myself changed. And my expression about myself changed. So before you make a statement about who you are, you must ensure that you truly know who you are. So just ask your neighbor, who are you? Ask another person, who are you?
Who are you?
Hope the person didn't tell you just their name. Because you are more than your name. So another thing branding gives to you is that branding gives value to you. I was listening to 50 Cent, was being interviewed by Larry King, and he said something, I don't know how many of us posted it. I think someone, okay, Fela Durant posted it. You know, So 50 Cent said he went into a supermarket and he saw a liter of water that was selling for less than $1, about 95 cents. Then he saw another liter of water that was selling for close to $3. And then it was like the content of both, it's the same water. You can't really tell the spring is coming from. The quantity is the same. But what's the difference between both prices? Then you realize one is branded, the other is not branded. So this is a practical example. How many of us we probably are going to Lagos and then somebody seriously selling this on the road for 150, 100 naira? How many of us are going to be bold enough to buy this? No identity. No identity. But this, if someone is selling this for 150 or even 200 and they are very tasty, you're going to take it. Why? Because it has an identity. It has somewhere it's coming from. It's branded. Right? So you can see what I just did. This can is an ever can, but I took out the brand from it. So despite the fact that Eva is very popular, the content of Eva is good, even probably better than this, but because it's not branded, you cannot identify value with it. Value can only be identified to you when you are branded. Value will only be identified to you when you are branded. I love Mr. Jacqueline so much, and every opportunity I like talking about him. But there are some people who call themselves houseboys and housegirls. Some people call themselves cleaner. They are not branded. But he brought branding into cleaning. Brought branding into domestic, helping you do things domestically. So now he can come up with a proposal. Mr. Harry was talking about proposal. He can now package a proposal and put Jacqueline. That's the name of the business, J-Clean Services. And then you give him millions to probably clean your facility and stuff like that. I'm doing free adverts for you, sir. I'm paying millions to probably do your cleanings for you and stuff like that. Why? What's the difference between him and that guy from Calabar, you're from Calabar, that is very energetic and can walk? One is branded, the other is not. So one of the deliverables for my session today is to inspire you and to inform you on how what you're doing seemingly for free or you're doing seemingly at a small level, how you can put a brand to it and take it to the next level. So number one, I've said you must define what? You must define your brand. You must define who you are. And number two, you must develop who you are. You must develop who you are. Who you are is not good enough. What you are and what you can deliver is far much better. So you can call yourself any name. There's a why I was so peculiar about this topic is because personal branding and branding has been bastardized to some level, right? So anybody can just read a motivational book and go and open a Twitter or an Instagram account and put life coach. You understand? So branding has been bastardized. So first of all, for you to become a brand, you must develop who you are, build your content. Build your content. There was a project we were working on, Aspire Global Project, Future Skills, and gracefully from Mr. Gaga and other people, we were able to get a lot of support to pull it off. But one of the reasons why we were able to get those support that we got was because, first of all, we've established our organization as a brand. So you develop who you are. How do you develop who you are? By improving on your contents. Who have certified you for what you're doing? What level of knowledge do you have? What experience do you have? When your roots has gone down very, very deep, then you can come out and say, this truly is who I am. Jesus didn't make that bold statement all of a sudden when he was 12 years old. No. He made it after he had learned through the process. That said, he laid back with the teachers of the law and then he was asking them questions. So he was gaining knowledge and expertise to fulfill the vision that he had. Before he now came up boldly and said, this is who I am. So before you build a personal brand, after defining who you are. Okay, this is the seed in me. This is the potential I have. This is what my business do. Then you must go to the next stage, which is to develop it. And it comes intentionally. To develop your brand, you must express your brand. Nobody else can tell your story like you can. You know why the first session was going on? Speaker was, someone contributed something that we must all learn the art of selling. I love doing research a lot and I love studying. And I came across a YouTube video that was explaining the success of the Jews. How when they're going to every nation, they eventually dominate and do big things, although they are very, very few in number. And so the reason is because from the age of 12 as a Jew, you're expected to be able to recite the Torah. The Torah is the first 4 books of the, call it the Pentateuch of the Old Testament. You're able to recite the Torah and stuff like that. And because in their culture, there's stories embedded in their culture, so naturally Jews are trained to be storytellers. So they can sell and they can market what they can do. So you must be able to express your brand. Express your brand. There's something Mr. Jacqueline do again every day that's very consistent. I've not been seeing it lately though. Every morning you see good morning from Jacqueline. Every morning you see the brush, you see the mop, you see the
still doing
everything. Good morning.
He's still doing
and he said he does it. He's still doing it now. Beautiful. Yes. For 5 years. Right? To be able to express your brand and make an impression in the hearts of people, you must do it consistently. That's why Coca-Cola, they are the #1 soft drink in the world, but they're still pumping millions into publicity. Why? They know what they are doing. They don't want you to think any soft drinks and you don't think Coca-Cola. You must think of them. So they are intentional about still promoting and marketing what they do. And that's what building a brand call for. You must be consistent in expressing that brand. Consistent in expressing that brand. Consistent in expressing that brand. And then there's no need to fake it till you make it. I'm privileged to enjoy mentorship from Mr. Zion, who he mentioned, who will be speaking to us shortly. And there was a time we went to his school in Ejeba for orphans. And then the plants, you see, shared somewhere. I said, sir, should we remove this before we do it? He said, no, leave it like that. See, that's the message we want to pass. What I'm trying to let you know is, you already have everything you need right now to start. Everything you need right now to achieve global success is already within your grasp. Your Instagram account, your smartphone, those are the tools for globalization in today's world. And being able to tell a story around what you do, then you connect with the hearts of people. By so doing, you're establishing a brand, and you're not just doing things. Right? So we said to build a brand, first of all, you must do what? Define who you are. Secondly, we said what?
You must develop yourself.
Develop yourself. And thirdly, we said what? You must express your brand. Consistently. Underline, consistently. Consistently. And Brian Tracy said something that got my attention when I heard it. He said, we are living at the most opportune time in the history of the world. And he said one of the reasons is because of the advantage of the internet that we possess. You are not the one to testify about your brand. Your brand should have value from the testimony of other people. So your brand is the experience, user experience from interacting with you. So if you say you have an NGO, how many people can testify that you've impacted their life, that you helped them? Say you're a fashion designer, how many people can testify of the dress they've worn from you that people complimented that it was so beautiful? So your brand is actually other people's experience about you. You know, Miles Moreau noted something that actually got my attention. He said, we do so much to build capacity of people. Build capacity, like do capacity, time management, you know, how to achieve your goals and surpass them, to become a more efficient CEO. We do all that for leaders to develop them. Said, but you barely see a leadership class that is focused on character development. He said it's barely there. He said it's barely there. So when I developed a course for employees, people work in organizations, the area I really focused on was in character development. And the reason is this. Dr. David said it. He said, in the leadership race of life, he said, you run with two legs. He said, one is called capacity. He said, the other one is called character. He said, if you have one and you lack the other, he said, you are still running at a disadvantaged position. So it doesn't matter how good you are, it doesn't matter how skilled you are. People who are doing fraud at the higher level, those are skilled people. But what's lacking? Character. So you can't really brand them as leaders. So when we're talking about leadership, about building a successful brand, character must be embedded in it. One of the most touching sites during hard one, TP Foundation did something in graduation, and then Mr. Jacob was called on to share his testimony. And I was really inspired and touched. And he came out and said how he was given a particular grant, and the very need for the grant, that wanted to get an equipment to help their cleaning, was what he used it for. And then when they found out the foundation did that, he was so inspired, and immediately said, I know somebody wants to do mass cleaning. He said, the contract goes to you. So what was the reason he got that contract? It wasn't really because he was good at cleaning. The other people could clean better. The reason he got that was because of the integrity of his character. So what gives longevity and sustained value to your brand is your character. Building a brand which is developing your capacity to maybe deliver at the expense of your character is building a building at a sandy foundation. When you get to some level, some flaws are not permitted. So you want to be this, 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 you're building this, you're building this, you're building this. Where is integrity? Have you thought about integrity? Saying what you mean and meaning what you say? Doing what you say and saying what you're going to do in reverse or another way. So you develop your brand and you develop integrity. Number one character trait, integrity. Integrity. Someone was talking about loan, while the speaker was speaking, and he said he doesn't really recommend loan. The reason is because sometimes some people get the loan, they don't even use it to do what they say they want to do. They just use it for something totally different, because they see it as palliatives or empowerment. So they just use it for something totally different. So you want to build a brand, integrity. Secondly, humility. Tell someone, say, be humble.
Be humble.
Tell someone, say, be humble.
Be humble.
John Maxwell was sharing something that is the CEO of his organization, I think that should be Marco, told him about, it was not on Twitter before, told him about that there are a lot of millions of people on Twitter, and we can actually reach them, even Instagram. This is a man like over 75 years, thereabouts, in 70s. So he's not really used to the internet and things like this. But he said, people are there, my purpose is to add value to people, we're going to go there. And then I've been following him, I've been seeing content from him. Do you understand? So humility is what helps you learn. Humility is what helps you learn. And failure to learn means stagnation to your growth. Failure to learn means stagnation to your growth. So if you want to build a successful brand, you must be humble enough to learn. You must be humble enough to learn. Who are you learning from? What are you learning? What learning opportunities do you give yourself? When I was invited here to speak, my main focus and attention wasn't to come here to speak. I said, I'm coming here to learn. And I've learned. And I've learned. I've learned and I've made contact. So one of the things you must do here is exchange contacts. Exchange contacts is a sign of humility. People think it's pride or it's when somebody always have to talk to you first. You don't know how to say. You don't know how to say. You should make the first move. Always. And I think that's one of the things evangelism taught me. You should be the person to make the move. Introduce yourself to people. Collect their contact. Make connection with people. That's how you grow. And that's how you scale. So humility is what helps you learn. Then the third character trait you must develop to build a successful brand is the heart of personal development. The heart of personal development. Probably my love for books is probably because I had years in my life where I didn't read. So I make sure I read a minimum of probably 2, 3, 4 books every month. You know? So you want to build a brand, you must be someone who is interested in knowledge. Someone who is interested in training. Someone who is interested in developing yourself. You must give yourself to the heart of personal development. Because your brand is going to grow to your level. Not until you grow, your organization won't grow. And that's the essence of leadership. Your growth will put a lead on your organization. So when you grow as a leader, then your organization and everything else can grow. Alright? So I said I was going to make it short. Hope we've gotten value for our time. So we can take questions because I really want to take questions. Alright? So I said first and foremost, for you to develop your personal brand, what must you do? You must be able to define who you are. Then I said secondly, you must do what? Develop who you are. Then I said thirdly, you must do what? Express who you are. Then I said what gives sustainability and longevity to the brand you've developed is you must have what? Character. And the first one is what? Integrity. Then we spoke about what? Humility. Then we spoke about what? Heart of personal development. Then the last but not the least, which is very, very important, it encompasses all of them together. You can't build a personal brand successfully without, we all know the answer, without love, compassion. It's very important. Because compassion and love is what makes you serve other people. Leadership without love and compassion leads to manipulation, always. Always leads to manipulation. The very roots and the very foundation and the very inspiration behind leadership must be compassion. Give and it shall be given unto you. People don't understand the entrepreneurial interpretation of what Jesus said. Give solutions, give products, give services, then you are going to get and receive from other people. So the most successful people in the world, entrepreneurs, Bill Gates, richest people, they are the top givers. Dangote is giving us every day. Either he's giving you salt or he has given you cement to build your house. Bill Gates is giving us every day. Either he's giving you the software you are using or he's giving you the product you are using. But it's just making your life easier. So what are they doing? They are giving, they are serving. And serving is inspired through compassion. Thank you so much for your time.